They told me for years there was no money in podcasting. Well, they were all wrong.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Talking with Tarashuk podcast. My name is Will Tarashuk, the man with all the questions and all the answers. You know, it's not this kind of podcast, but it's okay. My name is Will Tarashuk, T. Thomas, A-R-A-S-H-U-K, and I am joined this week by my old friend, the man who replaced me at WRHU, the screening room, Mr. Sam Bussell. Sam, welcome, man.
Good to see you, Will.
It's been a very long time since I've actually seen you.
It's been a long time.
In the flesh.
Yes.
It's great. You look great.
Thank you.
I love Flash.
I've got to represent, man. My podcast and everything. I got it. Well, it's not my podcast this is on, but movies, superheroes, got to represent
So
it.
that's Marvel's Flash, or is that the 80s Flash?
That's got to be like the 80s Flash.
Okay, so we're talking like Ted Flash.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, we're going all the way back.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about that like literally this morning. I was thinking about the movie Ted. I was like, wow, that movie really made Flash like a pop culture icon again.
Oh, absolutely. It made him a zeitgeist back in the day in like the 80s. It was hilarious.
I mean,
Hilarious.
he's Flash, dude.
Yeah.
Flash was fan fiction for something that became something. It wasn't. Might have been not Star Wars. No, Star Wars was fan fiction for, I don't remember who. But George Lucas had fan fiction. It became Star Wars. It was
Yeah.
it was some 80s proper. No, that could be 80s.
No, because it was 77. Yeah, it was more like westerns, like samurai stuff and that stuff. It was like that. He incorporated that within the sci-fi stuff.
Someone took Flash.
Yes, basically, someone incorporated that and made it what it is today.
Yeah.
Basically.
All right, we'll Google it.
Yeah.
All right, so Sam, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. It's been a while, like you just said. You know, I've been working, I've been podcasting. It's been a crazy couple of years, but you know, it's great to see you in the flesh. It's great to see people in the flesh again. It's awesome.
Yeah, dude, it's been a wild ride. So you're the host of the Sam Bussell podcast. We were talking a little bit beforehand before Christian really cut me off. But Bussell, last name Bussell. I guessed it was French.
Yeah, so from what I've always asked about my lineage and heritage, I'm basically like a mixture. So when people ask me like, oh, your last name, it's this or that, and I'm just like, I'm not really 100% sure. It's like, it could be a little percentage of this, a little percentage of English, it could be Slovakian, it could be a whole bunch of different things, honestly. Like, it's just on my father's side, I am like a United Nations. On my mother's side, her family comes from Honduras. So yeah, for her mother's side comes from Honduras. So it's like a little of everything. A little pizzazz here, a little nosh there. I did not know your mother's not Honduran. So yeah, you're definitely the United Nations rolled into one. I'm similar. You know, my mom's 100% Italian. DeSantis, no relation. But DeSantis, that's her maiden name. So obviously I'm half Italian. And my dad's side is kind of just mostly Polish and then just Eastern Europe. So a little bit of Slovak, a little bit of Czech, a little bit of Russian, and Ukrainian. So it's an interesting time for me right now. Definitely.
But just for the sake of argument, because it's just easier, I'm 50-50 Italian-Polish. It's just so much easier to say. My kids will be, I guess, 25% Italian, a little bit of Polish, and then whatever jazz.
That's a nice mix.
Whatever jazz is. I know jazz is Guyanese, but if we have kids, we'll be a bunch of mutts too.
That's a perfect mix, honestly. Why not?
Eventually it's America, dude. Everyone's going to be a mix of something.
Exactly.
That's what makes this country great.
It's the beauty of it. Absolutely.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning. I met you at WRHU, Hofstra University. We did a screening room. Founded by Christian Ledegowski and Tommy Smart and Mandela Wells.
Yes. Yep. Those are the founding fathers.
And goddamn, I hope to get Christian on this podcast. Eventually, I got to actually reach out to him. So, Christian, if you're watching.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he's local, right? Where does he live now?
I don't know. He might. I don't know if he still lives on Long Island or if he lives in Upper West New York. I'm not really 100% sure.
I know he's got his own business. He's killing it out there.
Yeah, he is.
Shout out to Christian. But he started the screening room, which was the Sunday morning talk show, all about movies.
Yeah.
You know, I took over for I forget who was the extra host. Might have been Tommy as the first mic.
Yeah.
And then you took over for me.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the screening room like for you? Because for me, it was the most fun I had at Hofstra, and I was in a frat.
Oh, I mean, listen, screening room was one of the reasons why I even got into WRHU. I mean, I am a huge movie buff like you are. I love everything about it. I love following the industry. And when I signed up for WRHU, I was looking for something like that. And when I heard about it, I was like, this is right up my alley. And meeting Christian, meeting Tommy and everybody, they were so welcoming, and they just brought me in and showed me the ropes of everything. And it was just a lot of fun. It showed me how to be creative, but also kind of business savvy.
Yeah.
Because I know Tommy was a lot more of the creative side, and Christian wanted to employ more of like the business side and what he's doing now, kind of. So it was everything I really kind of wanted it to be. And it was just a hell of a time. Such a fun ride, working with you, working with Liv, and everyone that I worked with, and when everyone else was kind of gone. It was just a fun time.
So it was me, Liv, and Patty Hopkins.
Yeah, that was the crew.
That was the three of us, and it was just because Pat brought that flavor because he was a film major, right?
Yeah.
He was that indie film scene.
Yeah.
Where just he would talk about movies and things just like I had no idea what he's talking about because I'm not a filmmaker. But just listen to him talk, it's like, Pat, I could listen to you talk about movies for literally ever.
Yeah.
And Liv was behind the board and always just a great time. And she bounced off my energy really well. Still, the best compliment to this date was Liv telling me, Will, you were just my morning coffee on Sunday morning.
Oh, that's great.
Because I don't know. I still to this day don't know how I did it. Because I would wake up Sunday morning just sometimes hungover as all hell.
Yep.
Walk into that studio just like a zombie. That music comes on, I go, good morning, New York. It's just game time.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep. I even try to replicate you, right? To give it energy right away when the morning happened. Like, that's what you want to give it. And you want to give the audience and the group energy because, like you said, like, you're coming over, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning, you're getting up, ready to go. Like, you don't want to be there on a Sunday like that. But when you get that energy going, like, everyone's ready to kind of get into the groove like that.
I don't know what it is. It's like once that red light turns on, I do my clap or whatever. It's even on the way over here. I was just pissed off because it's just super. It's one of those like annoying days.
Yeah.
That everything that happens just annoys you.
Yep.
And now that I'm here, it's gone.
It's all good.
It's completely gone.
Yep.
So it works on Sunday morning, works on a Friday afternoon, and works on Thursday at midnight.
And you still got that energy too, honestly. Like, it's still there. I remember it. It reminds me, kind of going back all those years I was working with you on the screening room. Like, it's still there, man. You still got it.
See, I wish I had those recordings. I wish that's something I did because they had them all in the DAW.
Yeah, they did.
In the control room. It was A, B. What's that thing in the middle?
It was the that
bullpen.
was Annex, I think.
Annex.
I think
They call it Annex. So they had them all in there. I should have went and took them all a zip file and I wish I still had them.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I recorded stuff, I made sure to put it in there, and then after every show, I would put it on my Google Drive. Just so I had it just in case, God forbid, if they ever were like erased or forgotten, like I would have it for like a resume or whatever to like show people basically. Be like, yeah, this is what we did kind of in a way to kind of preserve a little history.
Yeah.
A little bit of history.
I mean, I have everything I ever recorded. Like I have podcasts that don't exist anymore that I still have recordings of just in case.
Yeah, because you never know. Like, if you want to show it to somebody one day or just be like, yeah, I used to do that, like, you want to be able to kind of have the records of it, basically.
Yeah.
And so it's not, like, erased whatsoever, kind of.
So did you have a tagline for screen? Because I had Good Morning New York off of Good Morning Vietnam. Did you have something that is kind of like your staple?
I did. I don't know if it was really kind of, like, movie-based like yours, but I would always say, what's going on, screeners? And at the end, I would always say, keep on screening, screeners.
Which you still do.
Yeah, I still do it on my podcast. Yeah, I still do it. I always want to try to have a little kind of, like you said, like pizzazz to it. Just kind of, again, just kind of bring audiences in to kind of feel like they're a part of it in a way and like they're part of a group and a family. So I wanted to keep on doing that with my podcast, like you said, because just to keep that going.
Yeah, because someone who does podcasts, like, Ambiguous podcasters, and I speak to people who do podcasts or want to do podcasts all the time, they tell me, how do you structure a show? Right, like for that Good Morning New York, it honestly might have been completely organic. I don't think I thought of something like that because that's not typically my style. Like, I'll take something, and then if it works, I'll do it again, and then I'll run with it. Yeah. So like my podcast I did with my friend Nash, it was called You Mad Bro. That's one that doesn't exist anymore. And since it's covering things that it's mad about, so I'd start off the podcast going, all right, everyone settle down. The idea is they're coming in all pissed off, so let's settle down.
Right.
And that's something I did once, and then I just kept doing. But I didn't plan that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It just happened. So like, do you do that for either for the screening room or like even your own podcast? Like, just keep on screening. You took that from screening room, but do you also plan organically, or is this kind of very rigid?
It is organic in the way that like whenever I'm trying to create something, it comes to me. And then I utilize it throughout every single one of my podcasts. So it's kind of a mixture of both, where it is kind of planned out, but at the same time, I try to make it organic as well. Like, or like if something else kind of comes up, or if I want to kind of switch it up, I'll try to switch up certain words or whatnot. But I always want to, especially at the ending, I always say keep on screening. In the beginning, I just kind of like just greet people. Like, it's just like, hey, everyone, what's going on? Yeah. Like, welcome to the podcast. Yeah, exactly. Like, welcome. Like, here, like, come enjoy, listen to this stuff. So it's a mixture of both, really.
Because the only thing I actually scripted was like the Willie T top 10. It was like whatever we called it. It was every week we had a top 10 list of something. And I was like, okay, this is a scripted segment. I want to make it funny. not that good at improv, right? It's like I wish I had those because I would cut all those up because I forget what the list was, but some of them I just had everyone dying.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was. I couldn't remember what it was, but it was just that one liner that you don't think it's gonna work, and then it just works.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's just if it goes really. And I will say, like for my podcast, like the only things that are really scripted are the beginning and the end. When I'm like introing, being like, "Hey, like what's going on," and then kind of like saying like, "This is what I'm doing. Like these are the topics that we're gonna be covering." I do a few notes, but even that, I'm just kind of like off the cuff, like whatever's on my mind. Like I'll pretend to look at my notes that I do. But then at the same time, my brain's just running like it does because it's wired to. It's like you know what you're saying, you know what you're doing at this point because you've been doing it for a while. So it tries to be as creative as possible with that in that kind of a way.
Yeah, I mean, most of my podcasts are off the cuff. You know, there's certain guests. Like I talked to someone yesterday who I don't actually know personally, but I've actually met in person. But like I had a list of questions just in case because there was a social media manager. It's like, okay, I want to ask a bunch of questions on social media.
Right.
But like I also don't know this person, so I don't want to go in cold and I'm stuck.
Right. Yeah.
So like I had those questions. I'm lucky. I'm happy I didn't go to them most of the time because the old podcast, like I think maybe 1 through 10 of this podcast, like I had all my questions written out. Like
Okay.
I also have a bunch of questions that I ask off the top of my head because that's just what happens.
Right.
But most of them were scripted out, and the screening room itself, like the segment beat by beat was scripted. So this block we're talking this movie, this block we're talking that movie, this block we're talking that movie. I had notes about that movie I watched. But other than that,
you just kind of go off the cuff a little bit and just kind of like roll with it. And I think someone like you and other people that I know, they're great at like improv like that, improvisation, where they're just able to kind of like riff it off, like just kind of come up with whatever's on their mind while they're recording. For me, I got to be able to at least, again, like have some kind of structure in that sense, being like, okay, like I know what I'm talking about here. And I took that off of screening room to kind of just have some kind of structure just to kind of be like, okay, this is like A, B, and C of what we're covering. But then everything else is kind of like, just fill it in. It's like a basic skeleton. I like to think of it. It's like It's got the skeleton and then you fill everything else in as you kind of go, basically.
And you do the solo show, man.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Like I applaud you for that because solo shows for me to do are very difficult. I tried doing one sort of, never released them, thank God. But I still have them just in case.
Right, yeah.
Right, the recordings are still there, they still exist. But it's hard for me to not bounce off of someone. Now you do interviews as well.
Yeah.
But your main show is mainly just, you front and center. How?
I mean, it really kind of started off where I knew I had an extra year going at Hofstra, and I knew I wanted to keep doing this. I knew this is something that I wanted to keep pursuing, and I knew I had to leave screening room behind, let the new kids come in, take over, do their thing. And so I knew that I only had one microphone. I didn't have like this awesome studio that we're in right now. So I just knew one microphone, that's all I needed. And then if I ever had like a guest or something on, it'd be great to have them on. But I felt confident in myself enough, not to be cocky, but I knew that I could do it by myself and keep people entertained and be able to bring them information. And I've based myself off of other YouTubers that do kind of the same thing, where I know they have people that they riff off of, but I know they can also do one-man stuff as well, where they're talking to audiences or they're able to kind of come up with stuff on their own and just kind of be their own person. So I like to think that I've been able to be inspired by other people that are able to do that kind of thing, but I just also felt confident in myself and being like, I know I have the information to do it. I know I can fill up the time. As long as I can fill up the time and keep it entertaining and have a good personality, then I'd be able to do it. And it was tough in the beginning because, you're starting out, you don't know how it's going to go, but after a while you feel confident enough that I know how to do it. The results are showing, and it was just, it goes from there really.
So who are your YouTubers?
So, my YouTubers would be John Campia, who's a movie vlogger right now. He used to do AMC Movie Talk Collider. He's got his own business right now. I would also say Christian Harloff over at Schmoes Know.
I miss them so much.
I know they were so good.
Their podcast was huge inspiration for me.
Yeah.
100%. So they do the ultimate movie at Schmodown.
Yeah.
Christian's got his own thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, continue. Who else?
Yeah. So it would be him. Who else would I say? I would probably say there's another guy named John Roca. I also would go by people like Chris Stuckman, Jeremy Johns, like reviewers like that. So it's just people that are able to, again, fill up time, be entertained. And sometimes I'm not kind of the goofy comedian entertainer and kind of like instill some of the things that they do, and they do it so brilliantly. But for me, I like to kind of just like present really cool things. And I like to kind of make it as like a sports center for movies, basically. That's how I always envisioned movie talking like that in a way. And John Campea, they were able to do a great job of it with AMC Movie Talk, Collider Movie Talk, and their whole company. They're able to kind of bring that flavor to it. And those are some of the areas where I'm like, I want to be able to do that, and I can be inspired by them and be able to kind of come up with my own thing with what they were able to do too. So those are definitely some of the inspirations that I definitely had.
I started listening to Jeremy Johns in high school. It's actually funny. My friend Joey, probably junior year, sent me a video of Jeremy Johns just roasting the ending to Mass Effect, like Mass Effect 3. And like that one video, just roasting that whole franchise, I subscribed that day and never took it off. I saw Jeremy Johns. He's doing it for 13 years, that guy on YouTube.
Yeah, and he still does it today, and he's just as good. I mean,
he's even better.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah, he's so good. He's one of the top ones. Like, it's crazy whenever I see like a big review trending or something, like a big movie's coming out, and he's him and I know Stuckman doesn't do it as much anymore, but he's really somebody that whenever a review comes out, he's trending on like the top like 20 YouTube videos on online, basically. Like, it's incredible to see what he does.
Yeah, he's great. Well, he has had twins recently, and he's trying to film his own indie film, which they got like $1 million,
which is crazy.
Like, his Kickstarter just went above and beyond. So he's a big horror guy. So he's a great guy. I'd love to meet him one day. He's definitely a YouTube idol. Other than there was the Flick Pick, which was he was Stuckman's friend, and then from them and college, I don't listen to him anymore, but in college was pretty much it. Yeah, and they were like college guys, maybe a little older, studio atmosphere, like just a great vibe. And actually, one of their guys' brothers went to Hofstra.
Oh, did he really?
And was a friend of mine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that was I was like, damn, small world. That was really funny. But let's kick it back to the screening room. Because I remember the interview process, because like after finding my replacement, Christian had the interviews and the tryouts. Yeah. And I was like, Christian, I want to sit in. And he's like, oh, of course. And after it's like, okay, the only person I can see replacing me is Sam. This I don't know why, reminds me a lot of me. He's got the voice. It's like it just all fit together, because it sounded like you sounded like a podcaster. Because before I did Screening Room, I started the Kings of the Rings podcast, which I still do today, in my fucking dorm room.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So like, because we had audition through Hofstra. Yeah. So I had my friend from school. We was over Skype. I had a little mixer, and then we plugged it all in, and then that kind of led me to the screen room, because the screen room to me felt like a podcast. Yeah. Like, it didn't feel like the sports department, which is, covering sports. You get that announcer voice. Oh, rounding second. Or the news breaks. Yeah. And they were so cutthroat. I mean that in a good way. Yeah. Kind of. Because it was very competitive, because that's what it's like in real life. Whereas screening was just like, you got to kick your feet up. Yeah, literally. Like, it was so much fun, but what did you think of the whole, like, interview process for the screening room? I found it to be a little intimidating, right? A little intimidating. I found it to be an interesting avenue for how they kind of approach that in a way. Like, I'm like, okay, like, I like how this is like a job interview, basically. And I know for Christian at the time, when I first started out at Hofstra and with Screening Room, he wanted to kind of, again, incorporate it like a business, like you were going in for a job interview and stuff like that, or an internship interview. And I remember when I first started out, like, seeing the way that he interviewed a bunch of people, and the way that he kind of asked the certain questions and what do you want to do, it got me prepared for that kind of stuff. So he was definitely somebody that it was kind of cool to kind of get that kind of knowledge and get that kind of I guess repetition, I guess would be the word to kind of say, for like, okay, this is how certain job business things would kind of go in a way. And he ran Screening Room kind of like a business. I remember doing e-board meetings at the time, and I was kind of like the secretary of like, I remember e-board. Yeah, taking notes and things like that. And I'm like the way that they ran everything was like tight, concise, and they had all these different departments going on. And so I thought it was really interesting the way that they ran that in a way. It was really cool. I'm going to hear from the horse's mouth, but yeah, he ran like a business. Yeah. Right. And Tommy ran like a business. And Mandela was just like, man, I'm just gonna have fun. But he also took it very seriously. Exactly, yeah. And I wanna go back to RH. Are they still doing Screening Room? I don't know. I followed it last year, and then I didn't hear anything about it again. I don't think I hear it so much on Sundays anymore. I mean, it was definitely when I was there and when we were running it, we were trying to keep it as float as possible. We were able to keep it going. It seems like the next group was able to keep it going for a little bit, but right now I'm not really 100% sure now. I'll have to give it a Google. And we'll check it out. Definitely. So how would you structure the show for Screening Room? Was it different? You kind of just follow the same formula? I definitely structured it a little bit differently. I kind of did it where
we would kind of do, well, I kind of did a mixture where it would kind of be the top news stories that were going on. We would do maybe half the block, half an hour or so, kind of talking about the major news topics. So let's say I remember in 2019 when Avengers Endgame came out, we had like a whole thing talking about the box office for that. And then we would kind of go into the movie review segment, and then we would have the news breaks in between. So I definitely kept some of the things that were going on at the time to kind of keep that format, but I try to change it up where, again, I kind of inspired it off of Collider Movie Talks or John Campy show, where it was very much kind of like a sports center debate show in a way, where it was kind of like First Take or something, where we were kind of debating, having different ideas and points of view. We would try to have some interviews on from time to time. And so I definitely wanted to kind of shake it up a little bit, but keep the core of what was intact in there, basically.
Yeah.
So that would be it. Yeah. So we would have some awesome interviews kind of going on. At one time I had Eric Davis on, who's the managing editor over at Rotten Tomatoes and Fandango on. We talked about the summer movie season a little bit. I did interviews with Tiki Lane from If Beale Street Could Talk, which is her first major film. So, and other people did interviews as well. And everyone, we had somebody who was the movie person that was kind of like, they would try to see a bunch of the movies, or like be like, yeah, I saw some of the movies, or you didn't really see some of the other ones, but we would have somebody like that. We would have 2 news anchors come on. So it was a mixture of keeping that structure intact, but kind of changing things up also at the same time.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
So what drew you to movies to begin with? Because what was your major at Hofstra?
My major was video and television. In the beginning, it was video, TV, and film, and then I switched it to video and TV by the end.
The RTVF.
Yeah, RTVF.
RTVF, and it's kind of more specific.
Yeah.
If I could,
I would have done that
kind of like production behind the scenes things. I was a journalism major, right? And I didn't know I wanted to do like TV, radio, podcasting until junior year. Right. And by then it was like, I'm not going to just change my major and stay an extra 2 years. You know?
Right. Yeah.
A degree is a degree.
Exactly. You got it. You know, you can do the other things as you're going. You still got the piece of paper no matter
what. It's like I got a BA in journalism. Yeah, Bachelor of Arts. Yeah, BA in journalism, but I'm not a journalist. My girlfriend's a journalist. Right? You know what I mean? Like, I'm a producer. I'm production. I do nothing I went to school for.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But what drew you towards filmmaking?
So when I was younger, I definitely would always go to the movies all the time. I mean, my dad always took me to the movies. My family would go all the time. Whenever a big movie was coming out, we would go. And it was really by middle school, like 7th, 8th grade, I knew I wanted to get into filmmaking at first. I wanted to get into directing and being behind the camera and creating ideas. And so throughout the rest of middle school, all of high school, I had a phenomenal digital media program. Shout out to Jackson Liberty High School. And they had an amazing program that really set us up. And they still have people that are set up at Hofstra. There's like basically my high school Hofstra should pay my high school for the amount of people from the academy, our digital media academy that go to Hofstra.
Oh,
you could count, I think, on both hands and even more, the amount of people that go from my high school to Hofstra. It's
every year.
It's insane. Every year.
Oh, wow.
Even this year, I still check sometimes, and there's people that sometimes they don't go for like film, TV. They'll go for something else. But they go to Hofstra, and I know of some people that are going for film and TV. Like they still go for that stuff. So from then on, I know I wanted to be a part of the filmmaking process, be a part of film and TV, and then going into college, that's where I kind of started to experiment a little bit. Where I like film, I like TV, but I respect a lot of people in their craft of filmmaking and writing and directing that I'm not the best creative person when it comes to that stuff. And I see what they do. And I'm just like, that part of it isn't for me, but I love talking about movies. I love reviewing movies, and I've done it all the time. And I was great at writing papers about them and whatnot. So I knew there's an avenue that I wanted to get into. And to kind of go back to one of the early questions about why I wanted to do Screening Room or how I found it, I was always looking for that kind of stuff. And then, so when I found that that's what I wanted to do, I was able to say, okay, I still like doing production stuff. I still like, especially within TV, I got within Heat Network. They were great. And I found a really cool avenue, and I really like doing television stuff, but I also liked kind of journalism in the way. But I knew I like kind of like you, where you got a degree in journalism, but you like producing stuff.
Yeah.
For me, I really wish I got a journalism degree, but I was actually happy making journalism kind of and Screening Room and all that my hobby, but knowing that could be like a second passion in a way. And then kind of going for the degree and producing and things like that, being like, okay, I can still take this as like my main courses and learn all that stuff, but also divide all my attention to this stuff as well. So I knew like I have it's like a roller coaster for me with filmmaking, where I always had a passion for wanting to do it, but then like life does, things change, and I knew I still wanted to do certain things, but I knew that filmmaking and making films wasn't my thing. It was other people's things, but I wanted to cover filmmaking. I wanted to shine a spotlight on filmmakers and movies and talk to people about them and how films are being made and the ins and outs of the studios and the work of it. Like, that's where I knew that I excelled in that area.
I mean, it's hard. Filmmaking is really hard.
It's so hard.
Like you mentioned directing. Someone's like, you love film. Could you ever see yourself making a movie? No. Fuck no. I can't direct a movie. Like I'm getting a little better at like picturing something.
Yeah.
And having someone else make it come to life. Like, for this shot right here, it took us a few tries, but like, this was the kind of idea I had in mind for these shots.
Right. Yeah.
I couldn't do that for a feature-length movie.
Exactly. Imagine that doing for like multiple scenes in a day and throughout a set number of months on a crunch time too.
Yeah, on a budget.
On a budget.
Yeah. You gotta keep studios happy, and you gotta hope it doesn't flop.
Exactly. And
pressure, man.
Exactly. And just seeing student filmmakers and the way that they worked. I was on a few shoots my freshman year at the time, and that was at the point where I'm just like I respect, like I can't, like this is, I would not excel at this. I knew just directing television. That was very stressful, and I learned a lot of stuff from that. So I can't even imagine directing, DPing, producing. Like, I like producing, but especially on a film where you have to keep a budget in line and you have to make sure you don't go over a certain amount of days, a certain amount of time, a certain amount of hours. It's tough, man. It's really, it looks easy when you see the final product, but there's a reason it takes months and years for things to be developed. It's incredible. It really is.
Well, what do you think the hardest part of filmmaking is? It can be acting, like sound, lighting, anything in terms of editing and the track, soundtrack. What do you think the hardest part of filmmaking is?
Oh, I mean, there's so many things that are tough. I think definitely the editing portion. I think
Killing You Babies.
Yeah, basically like kind of like, okay, you have everything, but now it's about putting it all together and then deciding we got to either cut some things out, we got to include some other things that are part of it. So I think that would be in the editing, but I think that producing and I think directing are, I think, the toughest things within a film, because again, you're the leader, you're the conductors, and if you're not able to make it kind of harmonize, every other department's not going to be able to function as much, I feel like. So if the director's in the abyss and they're kind of not leading the team, it's not gonna. That's the hardest position, I think, to really kind of be in filmmaking.
Director, yeah. Well, it's L. Alfonso and you. Well, actually, my EP, my very first EP, about my first job out of college, she gave me the best lesson in terms of production. It's the director's job to say yes. Yeah. It's the producer's job to say no. Yep. And I was just like, you know what? Like, running this business, I see it. I'm the producer. I say no a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, no, we can't do this. We can't do that. And it's amazing. I'm watching The Offer on Paramount Plus. It's about the making of The Godfather. And of course, if you know the making of The Godfather, it was one of the greatest, if not the greatest films of all time, had one of the most complicated processes of ever getting made onto the screen. And that was another thing where you had someone like Robert Evans and Francis Ford Coppola. Francis Ford Coppola wanted all these things, and in the end, he got to do a lot of it. But you had someone like Robert Evans or Ruddy or Albert Ruddy, who was one of the producers, and they had to say no to certain things too. It's like, we can't do that. We can't have this. We can't have that. And so again, like you were saying, like it is the producer's job to say we be the realistic person, and then the director is the creative aspect where they want everything. They want everything. Yeah.
Yeah. You go. Listen, Frank. You see this number? You see how many fucking zeros are on here?
Exactly.
We're not doing it.
Exactly. It's like no. You see how much money this is? We don't have that money. We cannot put that money into there. No. So yeah, it's, to me, it's those two jobs are very tough. But there's also other departments within film that are tough. I mean, editing is tough on your own, coming up with costumes or even lighting. Lighting is tough. I mean, to put that all together,
I'm going to say
difficult.
Lighting. Lighting is the hardest part of production, because sometimes it's completely unpredictable, i.e. you're outside. Yeah. Like, you say a hard production, I think of Jaws. Yeah. Right? They filmed on the open water, which for lighting could be great.
Exactly.
There's nothing. There's no shadows. Yeah. You got sun above you. You got the light above you, which is exactly what you want. Yeah. But if it's cloudy, you're fucked.
Yeah, exactly. You have no solution whatsoever. And then it's amazing if you're shooting outside. directors have a certain point, or even producers, where we only have a certain time of day. If you're not able to get a certain shot in outside in the exterior, you're screwed, because we need this time of day to shoot certain things, because if the sun's a different way or clouds are a certain way and it's going in and out, you can't shoot like that. It's impossible to do that. So for the lighting people, if they go outside, they're screwed. But then inside too, where you have so many different white balances for a camera to go into. You have screens that you use for lighting. You have soft lights, harsh lights. It's hard. Like, lighting is one of the most difficult aspects.
It's definitely
tough.
Definitely most difficult. But to me, the coolest part is the sound design and like the mix and master.
Yeah.
And like, obviously I love audio. I'm a big podcaster, of course. But like, what actually got me into, well, that's my love for filmmaking. I've always loved film, but in terms of filmmaking and respecting and appreciating the craft, was Lord of the Rings. Because when the extended editions came out and we had the appendices, like each movie had 2 extra discs of special features.
Oh, okay.
I've watched all of those multiple times.
Okay.
And they give in-depth details on how they did things, specifically the sound design. So Lord of the Rings, the giant, the fell beast, the ringmates fly.
Yeah.
Like, the noise is a donkey.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's a donkey just edited and it's a few other donkeys. When they're flying the thing, I can't help but see a donkey, right?
Yeah.
Like the shrill, the ringmates is one of the writers, Fran Walsh.
Oh,
it's
really?
It's like her doing that. I can't go that high anymore. But it's things like that. Or when you like the Battle of Helm's Deep, right? Like, all the noises, including the music that go into that, like when they're, even as a small thing, like arrows going by, it's so subtle.
Yeah.
But when you isolate it, it's so loud. Or like when they're running, the chainmail is just clink, 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 clink. And to get that noise, they're literally just in front of a microphone, just shaking
Which
armor.
is incredible, yeah.
It's just like,
it's mind-blowing when you
it's
think about
mind-blowing.
it.
It's like, this is the shit you have to do to make a movie.
Exactly. And when you're doing it, it seems like this is the craziest thing. Like, what am I doing? Like, what's going on? But then when you see it all come together, it's like, this is the most epic thing I've ever seen in my entire life. How do you do it? So filmmaking, it's truly a marvelous feat. Like, it truly is one of the things where at one time, like, you think like, this is crazy, but you see the magic you put on the screen, and you're like, in the end, you're like, that's why you do what you do in the end. And that's why, again, whenever I hear people talk about films, and even though I critique films and whatnot, in the end, you appreciate what people do, because it takes, again, forever for them to make something, and it takes hours and hours and days and weeks for them to do something. Just one small thing can take days to do. And so it's just, you tip your hat off to every single person that works on those films. And that's why, to me, you always got to recognize the below-the-line people, because the people that work on sound, on editing, or even just costume design, or just the small little things like crafting or anything like that, because they go unnoticed. But without them, the movie's not what it is.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get any of that stuff. They're just either naked or they're in plain clothes. Like, without those people, you don't get that other half of a film that makes the magic of what it is.
Especially like costume design. Like, if you're doing a period piece, how much research you probably have to do just to make sure that the costumes are accurate.
Months probably to get it all down and accurate, and then to actually design it on probably paper, and then see these are like the designs and the different swatches and colors that we're gonna use.
Finding the fabric.
Yeah.
Like, if you're doing like a London 1700s period piece, that fabric might not exist anymore.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, it's sort of cotton, it's polyester.
Exactly.
Right? And you gotta try and find that piece, because certain directors would definitely want, no, this is trash. Get me the real stuff.
Exactly. Attention to detail, like every little thing, which is what the director's supposed to do. And then to also see the research of being like, well, this is what they did, but also finding things for certain characters, like what is going to define a costume for a certain character, like what is their color going to be, what is their style going to be, because that goes into everything in a movie. Like, I remember with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think the costumes that are incredible.
Phenomenal.
When you get Leonardo DiCaprio in the leather jacket, you know the kind of character that he is. And then with Cliff, you got the open button shirt, he's got the t-shirt on there, he's got the boots, like he's like that kind of like everyman day kind of guy in a way. So like, that's just the one that pops to mind. But those are the kind of costumes that can distinguish characters for who they are, even Victorian era or modern day. Like, it takes a lot of work, like, and that's just one department.
And a lot of it is subliminal. Like, a lot of it's subconscious.
Yeah.
Like, all those things you just said, people are gonna be like, I never thought of it like that. But when they watch it, they get it.
Yeah.
It's just a mental mind thing.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if I was going to compare myself, like as a content creator, I think about this a lot. Like my style of content I create and who I create it for, who does it emulate? And I don't like that I'm going to say this, but it's Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Like the kind of content I create, because Kevin Smith makes things, the weirdest, most obscure, random movies for no one else but him and people who like his shit.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm not a big fan of Kevin Smith. Like Clerks is incredible, but other than that, it's like his movies are trash.
Yeah,
like
basically.
Jay and Silent Bob, which is a spin-off of Clerks. But I'm just like, if I'm gonna compare myself to anyone who creates content, it's kind of like Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Like the stuff I make, like who's my target audience? Me. It's
Yeah,
me.
exactly.
It's me and people who know me.
Exactly. And I'm the same way too, where I'm not, listen, if I can get a wider audience out there that wants to come in and learn about film and filmmaking and the industry, that's great. But I want to be able to have a collaborative environment with me, kind of in a way, like filmmakers and people that love film and movies and love like blockbusters and indies and get excited for the Oscars and film festivals. Like those are the people that I really want to try to connect to and get to in a way. And I think that's when Kevin Smith does some stuff, sure, he makes like some of the crappiest movies and like some films you're like, what is
like
that?
Yoga hoses was what it was?
Yeah, something like that. And
He's
it's
like, I
just,
made it for my daughter. I was
yeah,
like,
exactly.
I respect it.
Yeah, I think he did a movie, Husk, I think. Was that him or something?
I think so.
I think so, yeah. So it's like, those are some of the craziest films, but the thing that people know him for are the podcasts when he does it, like, because he's able to do and find all those nerds that just love that stuff and are able to relate to it like he's able to. And it's amazing. Like, you tip your hat off to him because he knows that he's successful in that way, and he can go off and still make those movies because, again, it's like, I'm making these movies for me, but me is going to come watch these movies or see these movies no matter what.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care either. He's like, he
Yeah.
doesn't make money?
Exactly.
Fuck, who cares?
Exactly. I loved it. I remember watching him actually one time. He did a trailer reaction for the first teaser of Avengers Endgame. And I remember that got me so hyped up because he was just like, he was tearing up. Like, he was getting emotional in it. He was like so like hyped up, and it got me hyped. And that's why, like, to me, like when he does that stuff, that's the kind of stuff where it's like, I want to get people hyped like that too.
Yeah. He did a Cinema Sins too.
Did
For
he?
one of the Star Wars movies.
Okay.
Which I love Cinema Sins, but sometimes they nitpick.
Oh yeah. It's like they
But it's
try to
great.
rack it
It's
up. Yeah.
entertaining.
Exactly.
And it's like, man, how do you all get sued? Like all the time.
Yeah.
Shout out to Cinema Sins. They're great, but how do you not get sued?
Yeah. I don't know.
It's unbelievable.
It's amazing. Honestly, like, to me, whenever I watch content sometimes, I'm like, it's amazing how some studios don't go after some of these like YouTubers or people like that, where it's like, whether it's music or whether it's like videos that they use, it's like, wow, like you can use that stuff and they won't catch you or things like that. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, like that's interesting. It's like that kind of stuff to me. It's like, hopefully you never like, you hope that a studio never finds that stuff where it's like, okay, like, you know, I don't want to be my video taken down or anything like that in a way too.
All right, give me a top 5 films.
Oh my God.
If you can. Mine changes all the time.
Mine changes all.
I think I always change the 5th one, and like maybe the order of the top 4.
Yeah.
But I got mine.
I can give you my top. I can give you my definitive number 1, and then the other 4 are probably just like random. Like,
Fine,
it's
go
in
for
the
it.
top
Oh,
4.
your top 5 right now then. Be more
Okay.
specific.
All right. So number 1 is Saving Private Ryan. It's always been that. I love that movie.
It's
to
in
death.
and out of my top 5.
Yeah, so number 2 would probably be The Godfather.
Okay. In and out of my top 5. Yep.
Number 3 would be The Dark Knight.
Ooh, okay. Okay. Heath
Right
Ledger.
now, yeah. Let's see what else would be in there. I think number 4 would be. This always fluctuates, but I think Argo would be in there.
Argo?
I love Argo, dude. I love that movie to death.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting
yeah,
choice.
Yeah, Argo's in my top 5. I love that movie. And then number 5 probably have to be Good Will Hunting.
Another great choice.
I just
Another great
it's
choice.
one of the greatest. It's definitely one of the greatest scripts of all time. That's
Definitely.
its top 5
Yeah,
script of
big
all
fan
time.
of Ben Affleck over there.
I love, dude. I have to say, I'm a huge Ben Affleck fan. Like, especially as a director and a filmmaker, I love what he does. And I know he's had trouble in the past, and he's made crap movies in the past. But
Argo was his comeback.
Argo was his comeback in The Town too. The Town is an underrated film of his. Came out in 2010. It's good. I enjoy it. It's basically his version of Heat, basically. It's like a Boston version of Heat.
No, I think it's his version of The Potted.
That too.
Yeah,
that too.
That's what I was like, okay, like it's not a bad movie.
No, it's
Don't
good.
get me wrong, it's a fine movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ben Affleck did a great job. Jeremy Renner's in it.
Jeremy
right?
Renner's in it. Yeah,
Jeremy
he
Renner
got a supporting actor nomination
did
for
a
that.
great job. I'm just like, but The Departed is better.
Oh yeah, way
like,
better.
Like if you're gonna do a Boston crime movie within 5 years of The Departed coming out,
Oh yeah.
you're gonna get compared to The Departed.
Exactly. No, of course. No,
The
that's
Departed,
understandable.
dude.
Yeah.
It's
great.
Scorsese.
It's Scorsese. I mean,
Right?
and it's so funny. New Yorker making a Boston movie like that. It's great. I love it.
It is pretty funny.
It is pretty funny.
That is
and
pretty
it's
good.
great. But yeah, I just think to me, Affleck is somebody who writes really well,
Mhm.
and his direction style is amazing too. I love the guy. I don't know what to say. It's just him as a filmmaker. I just love everything he does, and he's gotten so much better as an actor. The Way Back, The Last Duel, so good in those movies, and I'm excited to see what he does. He's got a lot of cool stuff kind of lined up. He's doing a movie with Matt Damon right now. It's about
Mhm.
kind of Nike and them recruiting Jordan back in the 90s at the
Oh,
time.
that's interesting.
Yeah, so him and Damon are starring in it. I think they're writing it, and I think he's directing it.
All right, you need Michael B. Jordan to play Michael Jordan, right?
You have to,
Right?
Have to.
I mean, come on.
100%.
I mean, he's not only a great actor. He has to use the B for a reason.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
Like,
You got to do it. You got to
you gotta use
distinguish
the
yourself.
B.
Absolutely, you got to distinguish yourself somehow in some kind of a way. He's got to play Jordan in a biopic one, like even if it's that or in a biopic. He's got to be the guy.
It's that or Jordan's gonna play himself.
De-age him all the
You know what I
way.
mean? Yeah, they could.
They could.
They could
honestly.
do it.
They
I
could
mean,
really
he's
do it.
he's that much of a sociopath to play himself.
True, he really is. I mean, but yeah, I mean, Affleck to me is the best. B. Jordan is another person that I love him as an actor too.
So, Christian, to answer your question, Michael B. Jordan. So the other day we were talking about who are the actors of our generation,
Okay.
and Michael B. Jordan should have come up, but he didn't.
He did?
So-
I mean, he's somebody that he's broken through, but I feel like he doesn't get the love that he deserves in a way. I feel like we mention him, and
Okay, a little forgettable.
forgettable. But when he
Okay.
comes out with something, people know him. But I feel
Yeah.
like he's not always in the conversation all the time. I feel like to me, Timothée Chalamet is somebody who in today's
he
day and
came
age,
up.
he
Yep.
comes up every single time something comes up. He's the number one person on a lot of people's minds. Like to me, like B. Jordan, he doesn't come up all the time, but when he's up for something or he does a magazine cover or he's named the sexiest man alive or something, he's like his name. They run with the name and people know the name at the time, but it's not on people's minds like all the time.
I got you. So when he's in the mainstream, he's in the mainstream, but when
Yes.
he's not, he's just forgotten.
I feel like it a little
because
bit.
he popped on with Fruitville Station.
Yeah, 100%.
Phenomenal movie.
Great movie.
Had me in tears. I'm
Yep.
a man. I'll say it.
Yeah,
Then
absolutely.
he popped in his Creed.
Phenomenal film.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Both of them are really good.
Yeah, one of my
Just-
top two of 2015 for me.
Just
One
nailed
yeah.
the performance.
Yep.
And then disappeared. Then he came back as, was it Deathstroke in Black Panther? I forget the name.
Killmonger.
Killmonger. Close
Yeah,
enough.
yeah,
So, that's what he's most famous for.
yeah.
And that's what everyone knows him for.
Yep.
And then since then, he's kind of just,
He's done a few
Where has he
films
been?
here and there. Yeah, he's done. I know he did the last two. He's done like Without Remorse, which was an Amazon film that was transferred to Amazon because of the pandemic. He did it. It was with it's based off of the Tom Clancy novels. It was kind of like in the Jack Ryan universe in a way. So he did that. He was in last year a Journal for Jordan, which is based off of her true story. So and he's become a producer too. And I think that's one of the great things about Michael B. Jordan also is that he's becoming a very versatile just person where he's about to do his directorial debut with Creed 3, which I'm very excited about.
great.
That's going to be great. Even without Sylvester Stallone, I think he's taking the franchise where you're just excited for his character now and what he does.
You don't need Rocky.
Exactly.
You need him in the first one.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then you had to need him for the second one because
Yeah.
it's a tie in the Drago.
Exactly,
Which,
yeah.
again, great.
Yeah, it was
But
awesome.
now, he's established.
Exactly.
He can
yeah.
go do his own thing.
Yeah. 100%.
And he's a strong enough character.
Yeah.
He's a strong enough actor.
Yeah.
Now I guess he's a strong enough director.
Exactly. And I think, he's worked behind people like Denzel Washington for A Journal for Jordan. He's worked behind people like that. Coogler for his first 3 movies. He's worked with Black Panther, Creed, and Fruitvale. That's a Coogler B. Jordan trilogy right there. So he's worked with some of the great directors of our time right now that you trust him with that franchise, even just knowing it because he's in it. He's worked with people that have been a part of it too. So I love Michael B. Jordan. I think he is one of the best actors today. I love that you guys had like a whole conversation of like who our generational actors are.
we were talking, we Denzel, Samuel.
Yeah.
Because our generation were thinking like when we were kids. So
Yeah.
I'm 27, Nash is 25, Christian's also 27.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of age we were thinking of. But
Mhm.
Michael B. Jordan completely slipped my mind.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's just somebody that you when you think of it, it's like Michael B. Jordan. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's the
Yep.
guy. Like, yeah, he should be more prominent. But I mean, when you got Leo in there, all those guys,
But
like
he's still a baby.
he is.
young.
He is.
He's very young.
He is. What is he like? What Oh wait, B. Jordan is?
Jordan.
Oh,
B.
yeah, I
Jordan.
thought you were saying Leo.
No,
for a second.
Leo's
I was
in
gonna
his
be like,
40s.
yeah. I was
No.
like, yeah, Leo's a baby. He might look like a baby, but he's not a baby in age, though.
Leo's a full-grown ass
He's
man.
a full man.
Michael
now.
B. Jordan's still young.
He is.
Speaking of Leo, let me give you my top 5.
Okay.
So my top 5, number 1's Titanic.
Okay.
Always and forever.
All right.
Like, as a kid, I watched that movie all the time.
Okay.
Mainly the second half, like I watched the boat sink.
Yeah, that's great.
Number 2, Lord of the Rings. They're all one movie.
Okay.
They were all filmed at once. They're released, but all 3 movies are filmed over an 18-month shoot.
Yeah.
Counts.
Okay. No, I respect it.
Number 3 is The Godfather.
Okay.
No, I take that back. Number 3 is A Clockwork Orange
Okay.
because it's one of the only movies that I watched, and as soon as it ended, I wanted to watch it immediately over again.
Yeah.
But it was 3 a.m, so I watched it the next morning. So I went to bed, watched it like 1 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. Number 4 is The Godfather because I think it's the best movie ever made.
Yeah. Okay.
So the top 3 is my favorites, and the top 4, number 4 is like, okay, that's the best movie. 5 usually fluctuates. I think for right now, I'm gonna go Saving Private Ryan
Okay.
because it is the best war movie
Yeah.
ever made, hands down. That opening shot with D-Day,
It's remarkable.
it's terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's absolutely terrifying.
I remember my dad was telling me the story of, I think he was at a theater when it happened, but I think he also heard a bunch of stories also where people that were in there that watched just that 27-minute segment or however long it is, that D-Day segment, they left the theater because of the surround sound and
it was too real.
It was too real. And,
Yeah.
I think people that maybe were war veterans at the time that watched
Yep.
it got PTSD. So that's just the kind of filmmaker Spielberg is. He's my favorite director of all time. So
Me
it's
too.
just whenever I watch that, like, there's certain movies like Godfather, like Saving Private Ryan, or any of our films that are our favorites of all time, where if it's on TV, you just got to watch it. Like, you could be wanting to watch something else,
Yeah.
but when it's on, you just put the remote down and you just watch it.
Yeah.
It's just like, you're just into it. You know what happens, but it's so good.
Good Will Hunting's one of those movies.
Yes.
And The Mummy. The Mummy is one of those
Ooh,
movies.
That's a good one.
So it was the Brendan Fraser Mummy. So it's funny. Growing up, like, it seemed like me and my brother just mentioned this when we watched one day. Is like we go to my grandparents' house, and The Mummy would always be on TV. Always.
Oh, really?
Only
Wow.
like whenever we're at her house, it was always on TV.
Okay.
And one day I was just like, "Hey, Will, you know it's like that every time I hear The Mummy's on it, you know what? You know what? I was just thinking the same thing. And when it's on, we always watch it.
Yeah.
It's a great popcorn flick.
It is. It's a fun film. Like, and Brendan Fraser, who's about to have a great comeback. I cannot wait.
I'm so
I
excited.
cannot wait for the Fraser comeback. It's going to be amazing.
The internet loves him.
Oh, the internet.
It's time, baby.
It's time.
It's time.
We had the reconnaissance. We had the Liam Neeson sons years ago. We were having a little bit of a Nicolas Cage sons. It's time.
Yeah,
for
we are, baby.
It's time for the Brendan
We have
Fraser
a
sons.
Keanu. We got the
We
Keanu
are.
songs.
Yes, with John Wick and all those films.
Yep.
Yes. So it's time for Brendan Fraser to come back into the fold now. I cannot wait.
So that being said, what do you think of the current state of Hollywood?
I am somebody who, I understand people that aren't big fans of the studio system in today's day and age. I can understand people's frustrations, but I can't sit up here and say like, oh, like big studio movies are ruining Hollywood and this and that, because I'm somebody who likes superhero movies. I like comic book films that come out. I like some of the big films that are anticipated. I look forward to blockbuster season and all that fun stuff. And I enjoy a majority of the films that come out. I'm somebody who's known to being Mr. Positive a lot, but sometimes I'll try to review films negatively, but I am somebody who can understand when studio films come out and it's taking over things. But at the same time, when people are clamoring for new stuff, you got to go out and see the new stuff.
You got to find it.
You got to find it.
You got to find
exactly.
it.
And you got to be able to go out and see it and watch it and enjoy it. Like, there are original movies out there. Like, for a perfect example, the one that everyone's talking about now that gives, I think, theaters hope, studios hope, and people that love indie films hope, Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's the film that is the talk of the town in terms of indie films. It's made, I believe, over $50 million over the course of like a month and a half. It's still in the top 5 this weekend. It's probably going to stay in the top 5, only dropping like 6%. And it was an A24 film made with little money, and it's one of the most creative films. I enjoy Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but Everything Everywhere All at Once is the better multiversal film. The way that they're able to incorporate the multiverse and the concept of it, making it a fun family film, enjoyable, it's action-packed, it's funny, it's quirky as hell. I mean, there's some goofy stuff in here that you don't think it'll work, but the Daniels, who are the directors of this, are able to make it work. And it's wildly entertaining. The way that they were able to do this on like a very low budget is mesmerizing. If you read some of the stories of, they only had like 5 people on visual effects, and when you look at the visual effects on here, you would think it's maybe a $50-40 million budget, not even close to that.
Pennies.
It's pennies on the dollar. And so that is one of the films that gives people hope for what you can see in theaters. But again, for me, I want to see original films. When original films come out, I am all for seeing them. But I'm not going to sit up here and say, studio films are the death of cinema or the death of movies, because for a majority of them, a lot of them are good. There are some that are awful and some that are bad, and you don't know why studios make them. They just make them for money.
Yep.
Like, for example, Morbius. Awful movie.
I've heard.
Awful movie.
Yeah.
You don't understand why they made it. Well, it's understandable because the last two Venom movies made a lot of money, and they wanted to make this one. But still, awful movie. You don't know why they made it. But then you look at the MCU. And yes, some of the films maybe don't work better than others, but there are some great films like Captain America the Winter Soldier, the Avengers movies for the most part, Thor Ragnarok. We're about to get Thor Love and Thunder, Guardians. I just think that the state of Hollywood today is in a way of where it's dominated by comic book movies, but studios are in demand for it right now because that's the thing that's making the most money right now. Exactly. And they need to stay afloat right now. And I think that, especially because of the pandemic, as long as they are the lifeblood of this, you're going to get all these other films to come out. Like, to me, one that I'm very much looking forward to that's an original film, Don't Worry Darling, or I think it's Don't Worry Me Darling or Don't Worry Darling from Olivia Wilde. That's a completely new original film that I'm hoping when it comes out in September, people go see, because you don't get director-driven films like that a whole lot. You maybe get a Nolan film every once in a while that gets the kind of money that he's able to get, or a Tarantino movie. But if you don't go see those films like you do comic book movies or like you do these big budget films, studios are going to be like, all right, we're not going to put all this money into it because that's not where the money's going. And they're focused on streaming nowadays too, and that's their lifeline as well. So it's very much at an intercepting point where the streaming and theaters are going to have to kind of coexist today, and studios need to try to figure out a way to get more original films in there, but they're not going to drive away from the thing that's making them the most money right now.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm not going to hate on comic book movies. I don't see most of them. I love Spider-Man. I'll never miss a Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
No Way Home was just
so good.
It was the best Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Since Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And I love Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2 is
great.
But
Spider-Man 2 still is my favorite, just because I'm that kind of old guy with the stickler. Mine was better. I am that guy. But if someone told me that No Way Home was better, I'm not going to be like, fuck you, you're wrong. I'm going to be like, it's a great movie.
It is, yeah.
I mean, but I'm not going to see Multiverse. Just don't care.
Oh, yeah.
But like you said, they make the most monies, and the studio is clinging on to what's going to keep them alive.
Yeah.
So do theaters.
Yeah.
Now, they could do a better chance of marketing these movies. Like The Last Duel, I believe, was a giant flop.
A huge flop.
Which was relatively a new story.
Yeah.
And a period piece, huge budget.
Yeah.
But
big stars.
But from what I've heard from people, this wasn't marketed or sold to people. But to your point, the people who are complaining about movies not being made are the ones who aren't going to see these movies once they are actually made.
Yeah.
Like, there's no actual problem with Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, the movies are being made. Are they original?
Yeah.
You know, my two friends loved The Northman.
Yeah. That's another one.
They praised it as like one of the best movies I've ever seen. I saw it. I was just like, eh.
Yeah. And it's people preferences too. Like, people are going to like it, people are not going to like it, but as long as you give it a try, or like if you want to go see it, like, there are movies out there to go do it with. And like The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is another one.
Yeah.
Where, you know, it's not a great movie, but it's a fun, entertaining film with Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal.
Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage.
Exactly.
I want to go see that.
It's so funny. It's so good. Like, it's got a really good story to it. But yeah, it's just, these films are being made. It's just that not a lot of people are seeing them, and that's why these things are going to streaming more so than they're going to theaters, because they can profit off of subscribers and eyeballs more on that, and they say, well, we don't have to recoup the money off of that. As long as we get subscribers and we're able to get money off of that, we'll be fine.
I would much rather. I love seeing The Northman in theaters.
Yeah.
First, like, I don't want this knock The Northman. Northman was a great movie, but I had very high expectations. My thought was, all right, it's just like Gladiator with Vikings.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it wasn't anything super original. However, the main thing that impressed me, which I never see in movies or TV, it was very early on. You saw the film?
Yeah.
So it's very early on, like when the king comes back, right? And they're in the hall and they drink the blood or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, the lighting. where like the room actually looked like it was shot.
Yeah.
Lit by firelight.
Yeah. Yep.
That was something that was super impressive to me because you never see that. You know, like the sound editing and like the way the film was colored.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was a visual, brilliant, gorgeous masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like the action scenes, phenomenal. Choreography, phenomenal. Acting, great.
Yeah.
It's just the story and the writing where it's very, I've seen it before.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
very, very
but
generic.
overall, the movie was great. And I
Yeah.
hope it did well because those kind of movies in Hollywood are being made.
Yeah, they are.
I think the disconnect in Hollywood is the Academy.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Hollywood,
Oh, man.
Hollywood itself.
Yeah.
The movies being made. There's nothing wrong with them. Yeah, some of them aren't original, but that's just Hollywood. There's only so many movies you can make.
Yeah.
Now you can bitch and moan about like the Matrix 4 and how that shouldn't have been made. I enjoyed the Matrix 4.
Yeah, it was enjoyable.
But you can like and remaking movies like that's true. That's a problem.
Yeah.
But the big disconnect between audiences in Hollywood is the Academy.
Yeah. I mean, we could take a whole other hour, Will, if you wanted to talk about the Academy. I mean, it's
We
just...
got time, man. If you got somewhere to be.
Oh, no. I mean, listen, it's just... The thing with the whole thing with I don't even know where to start with the Academy. I mean, I love the Oscars. Again, to me, Super Bowl. It's my Super Bowl. I cover it wire to wire.
It was for me too. This is the first year I didn't watch it live, and I kind of regret it.
Oh yeah, I mean, you get the big moment.
I
Where
gotta
it's
see
like,
that slap, man.
Yeah, the slap heard around the world. I mean, let me tell you, I was live. I saw that live when that happened. I mean, I was with a group of friends that same group of friends I hadn't watched the Oscars with since the whole debacle before the slap, where this was the top of the cake with the envelope mistake. Where it was
Oh my
with La
God,
La
with
Gate.
Steve Harvey?
Yes, no, with Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway when they did with La La Land and
Oh,
Moonlight.
that's right. No, what did Steve Harvey do? Because
I think that was the beauty pageant. I think that might have been Miss
that
America.
was Miss America. Oh, you're right. That was Miss America. Yeah.
That was before.
They screwed up with La La Land.
Yeah, they screwed with La La Land because they got the envelope and it was basically it said Emma Stone. They had the wrong envelope basically, and so they thought, oh, it's La La Land, even though it said Emma Stone. La La Land, it was for Best Actress. And then they got on stage, yada yada yada. People knew it was a mistake. Everyone was going crazy, and so that was the biggest debacle in Oscar history. Before Will Smith decided to go on stage and slap the shit out of Chris Rock, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can curse on here.
No, you
now,
can.
but-
You can.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So yeah, he slapped the shit out of him, and that will forever be the craziest moment in Oscar history. I don't know. I mean, listen, something could happen in the next 5 years where people are being chased out of the Academy Theater, the Dolby Theater, and something crazy happens, but that will take the cake for one of the craziest live television moments ever. And then everything that went on this year with the Academy, with the now there's a whole thing with the best. The whole thing with like best moment where they had like talking about like Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah,
and,
it's just tongue in cheek. Oh, it's like
Yeah.
it feels as a
Mhm.
fan of film
Mhm.
and the Academy,
Mhm.
it feels like they're just giving it to us to shut us up.
Yeah, but also the funny thing about that is now there's an article that came out where apparently there were bots that helped push those films to be awarded. Apparently, that there's like a whole article about that now.
Well, the whole thing about the Oscars, like, don't get me wrong, the movies that are nominated for the Oscars typically are, especially Best Picture, are typically phenomenal movies.
Yeah.
They're outstanding
Yes.
masterpieces of art.
Yeah.
Which is my defense for what the Oscars should be.
Yeah.
However, they're also movies nobody sees.
Yeah, that's the problem, and I think that's why when I know the big push this year was something like Spider-Man: No Way Home, I just think the Academy needs to be able to look at these films, because I think when they look at horror films, even though we get something like a Get Out that gets nominated because it was a phenomenon and it dealt with a lot of things and it was a really cool movie and it was a breakthrough for Jordan Peele. You get things like that. You get things like Black Panther. I almost said the sequel title, but it's just Black Panther when it was nominated in 2018. You get things like Joker. It's things that are very art house or things that are culturally phenomenons.
Joker was very art house.
A very art house.
So art house.
Yeah.
And I ate up.
Yeah,
Ate it up.
I mean, it was great. Yeah, no doubt. Like, it deserved every nomination that it got. It was phenomenal. It was one of my favorite films of 2019 when it came out. But I feel like genre films like sci-fi sometimes or fantasy, if they're not these epics, like Dune was able to get it or Lord of the Rings, but it's not consistent. Where some of the best films out there are comic book movies, are horror films, are genre films that should get nominated and should be recognized. But I just think the Academy sometimes, especially the older Academy, looks at it as more taboo. Like, it's like, no, like that can't, like, no, like that's not what we're looking for with the Academy. Like, it doesn't check our box for what we're looking for.
Like
things
The
like
Dark
that.
Knight.
Yeah,
Was
huge
nominated.
example.
You know, like you said, Lord of the Rings did a clean sweep.
Yeah,
Went
yeah.
12 for 12. Return of the King
Yeah.
did.
Dark Knight wasn't nominated though.
No, Heath Ledger was though.
Yeah, Heath Ledger was. Yeah,
right,
but the film wasn't.
Those kind of movies, like if you even go back 15 years ago, like those big blockbuster movies that people loved and saw were nominated.
Yeah.
I feel like it's in the past few years where all movies that are nominated are just so, one, they're sad.
Yeah.
They're hard to watch because it's so sad.
Yeah.
Like last year, The Father, Anthony Hopkins.
Oh yeah. Brutal. Brutal movie.
Brutal. It's
brutal.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's art.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins brought me to tears. Like, and I'm a man, I'll admit it.
Yeah.
But it's just so sad.
No, it is. Yeah.
In the middle of COVID, you're like,
you don't need those films. Yeah.
It's just like, guys, like Bill Maher said it best. Like, can we just take the depressingness out of the Oscars? Like, life is depressing enough.
Yeah.
I know life imitates art, but not on. Come on.
Yeah. No. Or like Nomadland, where I love Chloe Zhao, amazing director.
Yeah.
But Nomadland was not depressing like The Father or like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, but still was very slow paced, dealt with very sad material about, you know, nomads and the way they live and seeing their way of life and all that kind of stuff and the reasoning for why they kind of live their lives because of economic downturns and things like that sometimes. So again, like you get those kind of movies, great movies, but you want a little bit more upbeat sometimes with your Oscars. And I think this year especially, another big disconnect was them shortening or taking out the live aspect, a lot of the below the lines. Kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier about how important those below the line categories are, because now you're not even trying to get more people, I think, general audiences in. You're alienating the audience that already watched the Oscars.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the thing where you want to get people that want to watch the Oscars for the Oscars. To me, I understand you want to make it a big show, and that's another big thing too. I think everything's a big show, and I understand people hate the runtime. But the runtime's the runtime.
I have no problem with the runtime.
Me neither. Like,
no problem.
You have all those awards. You need to get through them no matter what, because each person deserves to be recognized. And I think whoever's a film lover will watch it. Now, I think we live in a day and age today where everything is about the ratings nowadays, and there's a reason, and that's the reason why they're trying all this different stuff. But the reason that the ratings are down...
That's the thing. If they cared about ratings... Sorry to cut you off, but if they cared about ratings, they would have nominated Spider-Man, and it would have won.
Yeah.
But they don't care about ratings.
No.
They care about ratings, but they want people to like what they give them.
Exactly.
They want to have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Like, listen, I have no problem with those technical awards because we like that stuff.
Yeah.
We're nerds.
Yeah, exactly.
And the point of the Oscars is your peers recognizing each other in the industry.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, if you want to do that, you got to understand you might not have ratings. If that's your goal, don't televise it.
Yeah.
The Golden Globes weren't televised this year. Thank God.
Yeah.
Because who cares?
Yeah. And
like,
that's a whole nother disaster in and of itself too. But yeah.
But you gotta pick one.
Yeah.
If you want ratings, you gotta give it to what, like, Rotten Tomatoes, Spider-Man was probably like a 90.
It was like 96, I think.
96 between the people and the critics.
Yeah, the critics was 96%. I think the audience might have been a little higher.
Give or take, but
sure.
both
they were very
in the
high.
90s,
very high.
Which is very rare.
Yeah.
And you don't nominate it for anything?
Except for VFX, and it didn't even win that category.
Right, but it's just like, well, and now you're confused why you don't have ratings.
Yeah.
And they think, oh, Will Smith thing was staged. I was like, okay, it was staged. That's what the Academy wanted. Who won Best Picture?
It was. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. And on the Oscar.
Because the only thing you remember is
God.
That's the only thing you remember.
Man. Yeah. No, it is true. It was Coda. And that was a great film as well. I feel so bad about that now. I knew that was. I said it on my podcast all the time. We're gonna forget about Best Picture, and I forgot about Best Picture. But yeah, no, like you have those films, and you want those films to be recognized and seen. And I'm happy that the Academy will, at least that integrity is still there, where at least when they're nominating, it's not because of ratings. Like, it's like, we're going to do this because we want the ratings. Like, I don't want that. Like, I want it to be like, you nominate the best films out there. And to me, it should be the best films out there. And I remember when Favorite Film was coming out, they were proposing all that kind of stuff with like best popular film, all that. To me, that was bullshit because
100%.
Because to me, and I said it at the screening room at the time, if you want this to be nominated, nominate it for one of your top 10 best pictures, or one of the best picture awards.
Yep.
If it's one of the best films of the year, don't put it in another category, put it in that category if it's that good. So to me, it's if it's one of the best films and you think it's the best film of the year and they're campaigning enough where you're recognizing it, nominate it, and then if it wins, it wins. But I just think that the way that they're going about it, where it's about cutting the runtime, putting in all these different elements to it, it doesn't need to happen. Cutting out certain elements that should be integral to the ceremony, they just did not run it the best way this year. I just think they need a clean slate. They need to bring in new producers, people that know the Academy Awards, and run a tighter ship, I think. I just think the last 2 years have been not a good look for the Oscars. I mean, between the pandemic, the way that show is run, and how the producers muffled that whole thing with Best Actor, putting that at the end.
Yeah, that was also weird
last year. And shows evidence of that the directors and the showrunners don't know the winners, because if they knew the winners, they wouldn't have put Best Actor for Chadwick Boseman, because the whole thing was that the storyline that they wanted to create was Chadwick Boseman, he got an Oscar, a posthumous Oscar nomination for his role. It was really his last big film that he was out there for.
And they gave it to Joaquin Phoenix.
No, it was for
Joker.
Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah,
and he wasn't even there.
He wasn't even there because of COVID and things like that, because he was still in Britain. He's like 80 years old, so it makes sense why he's not there.
Of course.
But
and then it's like, oh, show's over.
It's basically show's over. and Joaquin Phoenix delivered the awards. Like, thanks guys, that's it. And they put it on Questlove, who I talked to this with Jason Abdow, and he was on the screening room, and I have him on. He's one of my guests that I have on sometimes for the podcast. On my podcast, we talk awards a lot. I was watching with him, and we were like, Questlove should win Best Documentary because his film Summer of Soul was up for a nomination, and he eventually won, and we were hoping to be this big redemption for him. Poor Questlove. He's got to close out the Oscars at the very end of 2020 because he was DJing, be like, so long, everybody, after the whole awkward moment.
I remember.
And then his category was the category when the slap happened. So he gets up there. Everyone's still ringing about things. He's got to plow through it. He was pissed off about it. He's somebody who should get 5 Oscars just for putting up with the shit that the Academy's put him through in the last 2 years.
Well, we know how they choose the winners, right?
Well, I know some of it's preferential ballot. I know
they lobby. The studios lobby.
Oh yeah, it's awards campaigns.
Yeah,
it's campaigning through and through. Yeah,
it's crazy. You know how much money Netflix gives to the Academy?
Hundreds of millions.
Beg to be nominated because it gives them legitimacy.
Yeah.
Same with HBO, Warner Brothers. Don't get me wrong, I get it. It's a business, but as a consumer, I gotta go, oh, these awards are all bullshit.
Yeah, because a lot of it is campaigning, and a lot of the studios put out as much money as they can. And for Netflix, their problem is that they put out 3 or 4 movies, whereas other studios only put out 1 or 2 movies, because you got to focus on these movies. And even though we talk about all these films that should be nominated, should not be nominated, there's a lot of movies out there, and people that are in the Academy are people that make films, and they're working and they're doing all this stuff. And sure, they need to watch all these movies at the same time, but that's the reason also for why they campaign too, is because they campaign to be like, look at these movies. These are the movies we want you to look at for awards consideration. That's why it's always for your consideration. Consider us for this, consider us for that. And people will be like, okay, I'll check this movie out when I have some time. And you watch it, you're like, oh, wow, I like it for this, this, and this. And for Netflix, they put out 3 or 4 movies, and it's like, well, I like this movie, but oh, yeah, they had that movie too. And it's just, it jumbles it up, which is why something like Apple TV Plus, they only put out Coda. And so Coda was the only film, and they knew they had something there. So that's why they poured in the kind of money that they poured in for that one. Whereas for Netflix, they poured in millions and millions of dollars, and now they will not. They've always wanted to be the streamer, the first streamer to get the Best Picture award. Now they won't have that because Apple's the one that claimed that. And Apple's only been in this side of the business for 2 or 3 years at this point. Yeah. So, I mean, Netflix has been trying, and they can still do it, and I think they still will, but it's no longer the golden pinnacle of we're the first. Now it's going to be the second or the third, or if streamers continue to win it.
First of all the losers.
Exactly. As Ron Burgundy would say, if you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah,
so Netflix is last right now. Ricky Bobby. What I say, Ron Burgundy?
Yeah, what I say, Will Ferrell. It's fine.
Yeah, Will Ferrell. Same one. Different characters. Same director, but different movies entirely.
All right, Sam. Well, we've been going for a little over an hour. Wow. Can you believe that? Went by fast,
right? Went by too fast, man.
Yeah, dude, that's how it works when I'm talking to Tarashuk podcast. But the last question always goes to the guest. Anything you've ever wanted to ask me, the time is now.
Oh, man.
If you don't got anything, you can plead the 5th. I throw that on. I throw that on people as a surprise at the end.
I mean, I plead the 5th on that one, man.
The 5th?
Yeah, actually, let me think. Let me think about this, actually. Okay. If you were to do a press junket, go in to do an interview for a movie, and you were invited to a movie, what movie would you want to say? Any movie out there. It could be old, new, something that's upcoming, something that's not out yet. What would be one where you want to go there to see the movie, interview the cast and crew there?
Knowing what I know now or going in blind?
Knowing what you know now.
Knowing what I know. Okay, ooh. I think I would do Return of the King.
Okay.
I think I would.
All right.
Because I know everything,
Okay.
right? And I would want to talk to them as not equals, but like speak their lingo.
Okay.
Like, I talked to Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
Or talk to the writers, like specifically for the Return of the King. Be like, well, how did you decide? Or maybe like Two Towers. Like, how did you decide to cut like a third of the book?
Okay.
And put it in Return of the King.
Okay.
Because the Two Towers ends when Frodo gets stabbed by Shelob and carried off to Cirith Ungol.
Okay.
So, in the movie, it ends when they're leaving Osgiliath, which in the book they never actually go to.
Okay.
So I'd be like, from a creative process, like, how do you make those decisions? How do you cut that? Like, how do you pretty much make a book that's the second highest selling book in the 20th century behind the Bible?
Yeah.
Right? And decide where and when to cut.
Right. Yeah. Which is kind of crazy to me to think, like, even at like the almost 4 hours of the extended edition of those films go for, it's still, I think, like, not even like a quarter of the book or like a good chunk of it. Like, there's still a lot of stuff in the books because I never read them, but no, like, you read them. Like, is there still a lot of stuff that even the extended editions, like, they don't even? It feels like they go through everything, but
they give homages though, right? Because like a big thing in Fellowship, because in the Fellowship it takes forever for them to get out of the Shire. So when Bilbo leaves the party to when they arrive in Bree, in the book it's like 13 years.
Okay.
Because when Bilbo leaves, it's like 11 years later.
Okay.
You know, Frodo sells Bag End,
Mm-hmm.
and then Merry, Pippin, and Sam, like, they go do other adventures. They get stuck in the old forest. They get stuck in the Barrow Downs. They get saved by Tom Bombadil. So, like, for pacing of a movie where the focus is the ring and getting it to Mordor, it's just fluff.
Okay.
So, but they took some lines from Tom Bombadil, which is a fan favorite, and they gave him the Treebeard in the extended editions.
Ah, okay.
So, you know, in the extended edition of Two Towers, when Merry and Pippin get stuck in a tree?
Yeah.
That happened in the first book.
Okay.
And the lines Treebeard used to free them is the lines from Tom Bombadil.
Okay.
So there's little things like that, and I'm actually listening to the books. I've read the books once or twice, but I found an audiobook version which is just phenomenal. So I listened to it here and there, and it's just a whole new experience. Because some of it's very accurate, like when Bilbo and Gandalf and Frodo are talking about like the history of the ring. Like in that movie scene's like 4 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And in the book it's just like 40 pages.
Wow.
Not really, but it's like 40.
Right.
It's like 40 minutes. The chapter is 40 minutes.
Right. Okay.
So
That's
it's stuff like that. So yeah, I would definitely want to go and interview the cast, the crew, the writers, everybody.
Okay.
But that's what I would do. Red carpet for the Return of the King.
Okay. I'm gonna turn around for you for a second. Ask you a question about something real quick. Are you excited about the TV show coming in September?
I'm scared.
Scared? Okay.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be great. It's the highest budget of any thing on TV ever.
First season is almost like $500 million.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch it.
Okay.
I think if it was on HBO Max, it would probably do better.
Yeah.
I figure that's on Amazon. Like, I have Amazon Prime, but I don't stream anything off Amazon. Yeah. I always forget it's an option.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't have a lot of like familiar stuff on.
I'm gonna watch it. It's probably gonna be good.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's gonna last 6 seasons like they wanted to.
Okay. All right. We'll see. I mean, listen, I'm excited for it. I've been hearing about this show forever. I mean, it's gone through casting changes and productions, and I'm ready for it. I'm excited for it. So.
I am too. I'm excited.
I mean, I'll definitely want you on the podcast, on my podcast, to talk about it.
No, for sure.
When it comes
for
out.
Sure.
I mean, you got Lord of the Rings stuff down, so for sure.
It comes in September. Yeah, I'm a Lord of the Rings nerd. During the pandemic, there's this YouTube channel called Men of the West, where it's just this kid's probably 24 years old. I had no idea he's younger than me, but this kid just does history and lore of Lord of the Rings. I watched every single video on his channel.
Oh wow! Okay.
Every single one.
Okay.
So I got that shit down.
Okay.
I can tell because they're covering the first and second ages.
Yeah.
So like Galadriel and Elrond are in it, but it's like they're gonna cover from like the fall of Numenor.
Okay.
Which is gonna be super exciting. So it's that whole time period is there's so much happens.
Yeah.
And it's just so many like kind of if they tell the story of Beren and Luthien, which is very similar to Aragorn and Arwen.
Okay.
So yeah, once that comes out and we watch it, I'll hop on your show. We can
Definitely.
We'll talk for a long time.
You can give me the whole deep dive because I'm going to be asking a bunch of questions. Again, I know like the Lord of the Rings movies and like that stuff, but not to the extent of like the books and things like that. Like definitely like you have the expertise down on that.
Also during the pandemic, so like Tolkien had the history of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
It's like a 14-book anthology.
Jeez.
It's 14 individual books that have been released over the past 15 years.
That's incredible.
So I bought the first 12 in like a giant case.
Okay.
And I read like the first 3.
Okay.
So it's like the Silmarillion, but harder. It's
Yeah.
so hard to read. It's so confusing.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty good at it.
Okay.
So I'm excited for that,
All
Sam.
right.
But
Yeah.
Sam, that'll wrap it up. Anything you want to plug? Your podcast, where people can find you, my friend. The floor is yours.
Yeah, no, you can find me on the Sam Bussell podcast. I usually post on Facebook and Twitter. I also post on the Ambiguous Podcast Solutions
Yes.
as well, which again, I got to thank you, Will, for that, for giving me that platform to speak on as well. So thank you so much for that. So you can find me there. You can find me on Twitter and on Facebook, and also on YouTube at the Sam Bussell podcast. And if you want to find me on Twitter, which I post a bunch of my episodes, or I just talk about movies and movie news that's out there, I'm at Bussell Samuel. So it's BUSSELL and I'm also on Facebook at Sam Bussell, and my YouTube page is at the Sam Bussell podcast. And I usually post 3 times a week usually on my podcast. Usually it'll be kind of like a generic movie news show where we talk about all the news that's going on in the world of Hollywood, some TV stuff where there's trailers or posters, or if somebody's talking about certain things or first looks at things. I'll do reviews on big films that are out as well, or films in general. So definitely be on the lookout for that. So yeah, that's a lot of exciting stuff coming down the pipeline. I got a summer movie season preview that's about to come out in a couple weeks. I'm trying to finalize some things now for that, for an interview. So a lot of exciting stuff coming. So it's great. It's a great time right now. Movies are back. Summer movie season's back. We're kind of floating out of this pandemic era now, thank God. And so movies are coming back to theaters now, and in every way, shape, or form. So it's gonna be an exciting summer.
It sure is. And I'm so excited for it. I've been to the movie theater this year more times than I've been in the past 4 years.
Perfect.
So that's very exciting. But ladies and gentlemen, my name is Will Tarashuk. This has been a Talk with Tarashuk podcast. Big thanks to my guest, Sam Bussell. But if you want to find all of my stuff and all the other episodes from this podcast, you know where to find it, ambiguouspodcastsolutions.com, or anywhere and everywhere you find all of your podcasts. If you want to be a guest on this podcast or our live show, which is coming, I promise, where we will be live every Monday, 7 o'clock at night, with that giant list of random questions we ask. We have all the answers. It's a lot of fun. We have no idea what's going to be said into it. Leaves our mouths. That's half the fun of it. Email me at will@apspodcast.com. We're going to sit on an interview like this if you're in the Montclair, New Jersey area. Big thanks to Cube Recording Studios for letting us use their studio and being a partner with Ambiguous Podcast Solutions. But if you're not in the area, you can still email me at will@apspodcast. It's apspodcast.com. And if I go, ooh, that's interesting, congratulations, you made it on the show. But until then, Sam, thanks again.
It's great being here. Thank you for having me, man.
It's been a great time. We'll be back next time with a brand new guest, a brand new podcast. But until then, y'all take care. We gotta go.